Destination Mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here. Welcome to the third episode of the Bandicast post-launch. Got an awesome episode today. Awesome guest today. I don't think he needs much of an introduction. He started out with discussion and speculation videos on Spyro back in the day, then became more well-known as Reignited came out. Now, if you look up anything for Crash or Spyro, you'll more than likely see him. He's also a streamer, husband and father, and he's been requested since the original series of the Bandicast. Today I have with me Canadian Guy A, aka CG. How's it going?
Hey, how's it going? It's great to be back. I think we had something similar like this back with Miharu as well, where we had a little, was it like a Spyro cast, I guess?
Yeah.
Way back in the day. Yeah, I remember doing that with you guys too. And that was a lot of fun, and I appreciate being on the show with you guys, or with you. There's no one else here.
Well, I remember you, me, and Miharu did a CTR podcast just speculating on that game.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah. That's the one I'm remembering. I'm getting the Miharu cast and that one mixed together. My memory's awful. Sorry.
No, but this actually is a spiritual successor. I asked her if it was okay, and she said sure, to her podcast, and she'll even be starting that up again soon. So,
yay.
Good stuff. Awesome stuff. But yeah, long time no see, man. How you been?
Busy. It's been... Between with Crash 4 and getting all that stuff set up, man, now that, okay, because we're kind of talking about the post-launch of Crash 4, right? Mm-hmm. And honestly, Crash 4 probably was the most stressful project between Spyro Reignited, CTR, and Crash 4. Crash 4 was probably one of the most stressful anger-inducing projects in behind the scenes. Let me explain why. So, as you know, I was able to, if you look back at my channel, you could see that I got sent the puzzle stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so what Activision likes to do, which is their thing, is that when a new title is about to come out, they always usually send something, like a small hint. It's not a small goodie, something small. You know, they don't send like an iPad or something. They send, you know, just like, oh, hey, here is a little egg, or hey, here are fuzzy dice, etc., etc. So for Crash 4, they sent out a puzzle. Now, what had happened was leading up to the release of Crash 4, and I got the puzzle. Of course, I got it early, and I had the embargo and everything, and it was great. And then the trailer starts to leak. And man, it's not just like, you know, like images of the trailer, like still frames, or it wasn't even just the Taiwanese, like the fact that the project leaked, that sucked, because the thing was that once I accepted that thing, I'm under embargo and I can't talk about it. Period. I cannot talk about it. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, what do I do? And I can't say anything. I can't say a word. But not just the Taiwanese, the fact that the project, because through the Taiwanese rating system, they leaked it first. And then there was a trailer floating around between people, and people were sharing screenshots, and that started to leak. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there, and they're like, hey, oh my gosh, Crash 4 is announced. Oh my gosh. And I'm sitting there and I can't say squat.
You're just like, I know. No way, I can't do that either.
Yeah. It's like, I'm sitting there and I'm like I'm about to have an aneurysm. I am losing my marbles because, you know, I've been talking about this, and I've been making speculation videos about Crash 4 for like 3 months. And then when Crash 4 actually shows up, I say nothing. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm kicking myself. I'm like, I can't believe this leaked. And man, that game had so many leaks leading up, and it's all probably due to the fact that we're all working from home now, right? All the projects are, you know, it's being sent. The way for everything to be sent is through third parties. It's really easy to leak something because you're at the comfort of your own home. You got places like game studios that won't allow you to bring in USB sticks. You have to leave your phone at the door. You have to do this. You have to do that to make sure everything's covered in good, right?
Yeah.
But when everyone's working from home, you know, it's real easy to just, you know, oops, I leaked something and it be untraceable, right? So that was really frustrating for me because as a content creator, it's funny because if I was on the other side of the spectrum, if I wasn't under the embargo, man, I would have been eating that up like candy.
Of course.
Like, easily. Of course. Every content creator would and should, right? If you're not under an embargo and anything leaks like that, jump on it. Go get it, right? But if you're under embargo, you can't say anything. It's one of the most painful things ever.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that whatever project that Activision is working on next, whether it be more Crash, whether it be Spyro, whatever it is, that they found a system to be able to keep it under wraps, which I'm hoping. I'm very much hoping.
No, I definitely, on a lesser scale, sort of, I think it's safe to say at this point that, like, I've had an embargo experience as well when it came to, like, CTR, so I definitely know how it's like, oh, this is sweet, I have to wait until release day.
Yeah, embargoes are hard because you just want to scream and like, oh my gosh, look what we got, and it's like, well, and you can't say squat, right? And the funny thing is though, is the most satisfying thing though is when, I wouldn't say satisfying, but funny thing is when you get people that are like haters that before anything comes out, they're like the game's not coming, guys, game's dead, game's dead, and you have the embargo in your hand. And you just want to drop it like a Thor's hammer, but you can't say squat.
Yeah. Well, that's what I like doing with me being a content creator is I'm always trying to find the middle ground. So I'm always trying to be like, even if I'm like, well, I don't know if this particular such and such is going to happen, or I don't know if this such and such is going to happen, but there's always a possibility it could. You have to look at it both ways. And even if you know something for a fact that someone else doesn't, you have to go, I personally would probably be one to be like, well, don't rule the possibility out. There's always a chance that something might come soon. Or not even say that, but like that something can happen and we won't even know. And then you know.
What I do to stay safe is I don't say a word. I don't say a word. I remember though one time, which I thought was funny, was a little thing that I thought was funny was that I didn't know if the game was going to be called Crash Bandicoot 20, just Crash Bandicoot whatever, or Crash Bandicoot 4, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, how am I going to, and I thought to myself, man, so I flip-flopped. I flip-flopped between Crash Bandicoot 2020, Crash Bandicoot 4, Crash Bandicoot 2020. I flip-flopped between the videos. But I was leaning more towards Crash Bandicoot 4 because the Gaming Revolution called it that, right? So I was just like, okay, he called it Crash Bandicoot 4, Wrath of Cortex Remaster, which was wrong, but then he clarified later on. But I was like, okay, I think he got it mixed up because he assumed that it was a Wrath of Cortex Remaster because there was already a quote-unquote Crash Bandicoot 4. So what I did was I was flip-flopping back and forth between them. And there was one little sneaky thing that I did on my channel. One tiny sneaky thing was that when I found out it was called Crash Bandicoot 4, I went back and I changed all the video titles that had Crash Bandicoot 2020 to Crash Bandicoot 4. So I was like, what? I was like, I don't know. It was like 50-50. And then I flipped it over because I thought like, okay, we'll see. And then once I saw it, was like, I flipped it over. So there was a tiny hint that there was something small, but it wasn't anything significant.
Did anyone ever come to you like on Discord or somewhere else and actually be like, hey, I noticed that this video is titled differently? Did anyone actually catch on to that?
Nope, not a soul. Not a soul.
Oh, wow.
Not a single person approached me or anything. And I remember some of the comments were telling me, it's not Crash Bandicoot 4. Stop calling it that. And I said, and I was just like, okay. That's all I said was, okay. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea. You have no idea. Actually, someone made a video against me. And they were saying how stupid I was for calling it Crash Bandicoot 4. Legitimately.
Oh my god.
And I sat there and I'm sitting there through the video and I left a comment. I'm like, man, you never know, right? You don't know what it's called. I don't know what it's called, even though I did, but I was like, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
Let's, why don't we wait on our judgment? Let's wait. Right. And when the game came out, there were some people that were there. Actually, what was funny was there were some people DMing me when the game came out saying, hey, remember how I made fun of you for calling it Crash Bandicoot 4? I'm sorry. I thought I was like, yeah, Yeah, I mean, like if the thing was is that if it wasn't Crash Bandicoot 4, I would have been okay with it. People say, "Haha, it wasn't Crash Bandicoot 4." That's fine. It's just,
Yeah,
but we didn't know what it was.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I wasn't claiming like I know it's Crash Bandicoot 4. It's just like, okay, it could be Crash Bandicoot 4, and here's my reasoning. If I didn't have any reasoning from a gaming revolution, I would have called it Crash Bandicoot 2020. But I'm like, but there's a reason why I'm calling it Crash Bandicoot 4 in my titles. It's because our only reliable leaker has said it was called Crash Bandicoot 4, so that's what I'm calling it until otherwise proven. If there's another leaker that comes out and says, "Oh, it's actually called Crash Bandicoot 76," okay, then I would start. And they were a credible leaker. Then all right, we can bounce with that, or Crash Bandicoot 8 or whatever. Okay, then I would bounce between those titles because I just kind of want to cover all my bases. As a content creator for Crash Bandicoot, it's intelligent to try and cover all your bases and not focus on one thing. Because when you name your videos, when you tag your videos, and you do all the little logistics that, people find extremely boring, you got to make sure that you got that data right. And so I want to be able to make sure that I have everything covered. So Crash Bandicoot 2020, Crash Bandicoot 4 2020, Crash 4, Crash 2020, doing that to make sure that everything is covered. And of course, I didn't know it was called It's About Time, of course. But, Crash Bandicoot 4 was enough to be able to keep my videos coming up in the searches because that's the thing is that YouTube likes to look at history. And when it's like, oh, the word Crash Bandicoot 4 is trending, look over and, hey, this guy talked about Crash Bandicoot 4 before it was trending. Let's push his videos. And that's why, or if it was Crash Bandicoot 2020, again, the same likewise, that's why I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The YouTube algorithm is random and horrible.
Yeah, because on my end, I had no idea what the hell to call anything that was coming out for this. All we knew that the no pun to the actual puzzle, but the pieces were coming together. But we were like, we don't know if it's going to be Crash 4, an alternate sequel to the trilogy, or if it's going to be like the 8th game after Mind Over Mutant. So we're like, Crash 8, Crash 4. Like some of my videos were called Crash 8 because I was like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, that's exactly it. And we're just throwing darts at a board. And the thing is that, and I feel like for some people that were saying, oh, it's not called Crash Bandicoot 4, stop calling it that. The thing is that I didn't know what it was. I was throwing darts at a board before I found out. I was just throwing darts at a board like everybody else is, and that's what everyone else is doing. Is that we're just looking, we're speculating, we're taking the data that we have, and trying to string it all together and try to figure out. And there were hints and pieces that were coming out, and the biggest one for me, the one that really confirmed everything, was when we saw Kapunawa in the Sony commercial.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, think about this for a second. I just thought this was funny. I was talking about this on my channel during a live stream. Kapunawa is so powerful. She says, I can go to anywhere in any time. She's so powerful that she went back to a different reality, which is actual real reality, and was in a commercial for Crash Bandicoot. She time traveled back because think about it, they could use any other mask. Why did they use her instead of like Lonnie Loli? Lonnie Loli was the main character, right? But they decided to use Kapunawa because she can time travel to any point in time, including reality.
Well, also I
thought that was cute.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but like also what I find interesting is how she is like basically the time mask of the four of them. So like she is the main hint that it's about time. So like I think that was really clever on their part too. But even back then, because we had I don't know if you remember, but did Kapunawa's cameo come up before or after the artwork leaks?
We didn't. The artwork leak where we saw Toys for Bob working on it with the backpack thing, we didn't see anything for Kapunawa there. No, what we saw was Cortex, Dingodile, and what we didn't know at the time was the different forms of Brio.
Yeah. Oh, no, more so I was just wondering which of those two happened. Did we see Kapunawa in that ad first, or did that image pop up first, or whatever the case was? Like, which order did that?
I think it was that image. It was that image, but we were speculating that it was Toys for Bob because we thought it was going to be Vicarious Vision still, but we thought that Toys for Bob was running support. And that's the funny thing is that it was right in front of our faces the whole time, but we were so stuck on the fact of, Toys for Bob, Vicarious Visions, Toys for Bob, Vicarious Visions, which is funny when we think back now. When we think back to that now, when we think of Vicarious Visions working on Crash 4, that didn't happen. They were working on Tony Hawk at the time.
Yeah.
But what was interesting, and this is what I find interesting, is that we were so stuck on Vicarious Visions being the main developer, and we thought that Toys for Bob was definitely going to be in support and helping them out, that it was right in front of our faces the whole time, and nobody guessed it was Toys for Bob. Or some people were alluding to it like, oh, it could be, but most people thought it was Vicarious Visions. And what was interesting, and what would have blown everything out of proportion, in a slight sidetrack, is Tony Hawk was one of the worst kept secrets ever. Like, it was awful how bad, how secretly kept that was, because it wasn't. It was leaked like 4 times before it actually came out. It was by pro skaters like, oh, hey, you know that game Tony Hawk? Yeah, I'm in it. And it was like 6 months before the announcement. It was, oh,
yeah, I
man,
remember that.
It was awful. But what Activision did was that what they kept secret wasn't necessarily a project, but who was working on it. Because if they gave away that Vicarious Visions was working on it, everyone would have been like, oh, Toys for Bob is working on Crash Bandicoot 4. But they didn't. They kept quiet about it. They didn't leak anything. A lot of people speculated it was going to be Beanox, which would have been a good guess, but they did support. But they didn't. They weren't lead devs.
Yeah.
But it was right in front of our faces. But no, if I remember correctly, it was during the Grand Prix. I can't remember which Grand Prix it was, but I remember on the live stream where it was during a Grand Prix when that dropped. I think it was the Winter Grand Prix. I want to say, I might be wrong. The Gingerbread Joyride.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was streaming that, and what had happened was people were lighting up my Twitter and lighting up my YouTube. And it was just like, I surged from like, it was like 300 people watching to like 500 people watching, and people screaming, hey, you gotta go check this out. And I was like, oh, what? And I went and I looked and I saw that, and I was amazed. I was amazed by that. And that was our first leak, because then they took it down and re-uploaded the image with all the stuff cropped out, right?
Yeah.
So that was an oopsie doopsie.
Oh my god. It's like, how much of it is legitimately accidental, and how much of it is like, oh, shoot, sorry, you weren't supposed to see that, like, because remember, oh wait, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that one was that one was an oopsie. I think I would, because if it wasn't, because the thing is that, like, afterwards, because after that, every photo that you see from Toys for Bob, there's blurs on everything. So, there's blurs, there's fuzzes on literally everything. But I think that one was an oops.
Okay. I was gonna say, because there was also that little video they had of the behind the scenes at the studio where they were just straight up showing dudes working on modeling dragons and Reignited.
Oh, don't remind me on that one. Oh. That one, I still get angry, because let me tell you something. Anybody, and I'm stealing this from Jordan, because Jordan Fringe said this back in the day, and I agree with him.
Yeah.
If anybody, any of the Spyro tubers, someone with 1 subscriber, found that video first, they would have been the king. They would have been, you discovered Spyro is literally being remade. You got literal evidence. You can actually see a dragon being worked on. You can see, and it's all over the place. The video, like, you can see hints of Spyro through the entire freaking video.
Yeah.
And nobody caught on. No, they even have the word Spyro on, like, the one of the bulletin boards. When I saw that, I just wanted to swift kick myself 8 times. I was so angry. I was so mad, because we were looking at everything. We were, man, scrounging details for Reignited was rough. That was, those days were rough. Like, It was fun, but it was awful at the same time, because I would like to go back and, you know, like, some of the thought processes that we had and some of the patterns and ideas that we had, man, you want to talk about reaching, but that's all we had. That's all, you know, and we, at the end of the day, you know, some people were making fun of us about how far we were reaching for the Spyro Reignited stuff, or before we knew it was Reignited. But the thing was about that is that even if the video was completely wrong, 150% wrong, it's so wrong that it breaks the 100% mode, we're showing the developers that we want it, right? Yeah. And it was showing Activision, listen, we are literally making coats out of string, and we're literally putting the tiniest of pieces together. I mean, at one point we took what was it? Sean Layden following a friend of ours who talked about Cinder as a hint. Like, man, we took everything, like everything, every crumb, because that's all we had.
Yeah.
That's all that we had. And the big thing, the big breakthrough was back. I remember back when it was I can't remember the reporter's name now, but she had reported that Spyro was coming, and it was coming in March. And and then after March happened, March had passed, and people were upset. But then literally April 1st, eggs started showing up. Right?
Yeah,
eggs started showing up, and we were like, hold it, and I remember a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this is." I remember a lot of people were trying to convince others that it was an April Fool's joke. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember they're like, "Oh yeah, it's an April Fool's joke. It's an April Fool's joke. It's an April Fool's joke." And I'm like, there's no way someone would spend money. And then there was another oopsie doopsie no that happened with was it IGN that Jonathan Dornbrush was a part of?
Yes.
Yeah. So he accidentally showed the address
on
the box where it came from. Yeah. And if you cross-reference, you can see it went back to Activision. And so, oh man, I was so excited. And you know what? That was a really interesting marketing technique, because now that's what they do. They send the egg, they send the dice, and now they send the puzzle.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, this is a really interesting and cool idea, because Activision's literally handing, and this is what I think is genius about this, is that Activision is handing the Crash and Spyro franchise in terms of almost like marketing to the fans, right? They're sending off these things for people to unbox, and people who are casual to the series, they might see IGN open up and they're like, oh yeah, cool, IGN. But then they see these other YouTubers, these live streamers, these content creators that are like, look at this, I got this orange fuzzy dice, and look at this and look at that. And, you know, they're even having little hints in there. Like, I remember they actually had almost secretly the release date of CTR on the dice, because they were missing, I can't remember what the little holes in the dice are called. The little dots. There's a word for them. I can't remember. But if you checked the one dice, it was 21 dots, and the other one had 6, and it was June 21st. Right?
Yeah.
I remember. So little hints like that are just absolutely hysterical and amazing, and I love it. That's so invigorating, and to see both Crash and Spyro being almost handed to the fans, I'm very excited to see the future of them. I think they're doing great, and I can't wait to see what else that we have in store, because we still have that that PvP game apparently, which I have no idea if it's even a PvP game, the Wumpa League or whatever it is. It's all up in the air. I have no idea what that is. I still have no clue.
I know. I mean, I've been covering that stuff for a while now, ever since I saw Kevin Fergarrigan and all them posting oh, here's this image on the TV, and here's what you can see at the very last few frames of the latest little animation they made. And it's like, okay, obviously. And then freaking for the new year, they were like, oh, ready to crash into the new year, winky face. And it's like, okay, they're planning something. Something's going on behind the scenes.
Something's rumbling. Something's rumbling and tumbling somewhere. And this is, and I do feel like, because I was talking about this on my channel last night, I think there's something going to be happening very soon. I think, very soon. I think. The reason being is because we were. I'm sure you're familiar with the thing I was talking about a long time before 2020 happened, about there's a pattern, right? A pattern, the 6-month pattern, this pattern, that pattern. I always talk about that on the channel, but there was something that I was looking at yesterday, and it was something very interesting, where it was I call it now it's the 4-month pattern. And what it is that whenever content is dropped and stops, Activision only wants to be out of the spotlight in terms of news and hype and content for 4 months. So when Spyro Reignited came out, which was originally slated in September, it would have been 4 months later CTR came out. But of course there was that delay, right, to November. Yeah. So that was the thing. And so obviously you can't count that, because they originally planned for it to be out in September. But then if it came out in September, 4 months later, CTR came out. Then 4 months after the Beanox patch, Crash 4 was announced. Right?
Yeah.
So we're noticing something just very intriguing and interesting, and like you just said, ready to crash into the new year. Like they're almost like hinting towards something, maybe Crash Bandicoot or just Activision in general related soon. And I'm just like, and if you do the math from October to today, it's almost 4 or 5 months, and I'm like, okay, it's possible there could be something. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see if my crackpot theory is right. But there's, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. It's possible. And at the end of the day, too, all these theories that that you come up with, that I come up with, that every YouTuber comes up with anything, they're theories, right? They're not law.
Yeah.
Right? There are. We don't say, oh, this is the Crash and Spyro law. No, it's a theory, and theories are meant to be broken. And I feel like that a lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget that theories break all the time, right? You come up with an idea, you draft it together, and you're like, okay, this is my theory. This is my idea of what it could be, and then you kind of put it together, and then you present it to the world and see what they think. And if people see that there's logic to it, then yeah, some people don't agree, some people agree, but that's besides the case, right? People can agree and disagree on theories all day, and it's all valid. As long as someone's not coming and saying, this is law. No, it's not law, because, right? No one's saying that. But in terms of with Crash and Spyro, I do think that we're going to be hearing something soon. I have my own thoughts about what this Wumpa League is. I was thinking it was like, because how would you do a PvP Crash game, right? How do you do a PvP Crash game? And the only thing that I can think of is a cross between like Fall Guys and Crash Bash. That would be,
yeah.
How else do you do it? Like, Crash has never had a fighting game. Neither does he have a move set for one. Not a first-person shooter. He has a Wumpa launcher. That's it. That's his only weapon. Yeah, a first-person. Whoa! Yeah, no, I would rather
Crash of Duty.
Crash of Duty. Don't even have to change the acronym. COD still COD even afterwards. Crash of Duty. But that's the thing, is that how do you make Crash Bandicoot PvP? And the only thing that I can think of is now technically CTR I would consider PvP, but it's more ingrained to a racing game than PvP. Like, yes, it's PvP. It's like saying it's like saying, I don't know, playing Mortal Kombat Online is PvP. It's like, yeah, but it's a fighting game, so exactly. Yes, it is PvP technically. But the only way that I can see it is if it's done like Fall Guys. That's it. If it's not done but like Fall Guys style, Fall Guys, Crash Bash mini games in between, I have no idea.
I mean, yeah, if it's like some kind of a like online like battle competitive game, that would be like the running lead for a PvP game. So I can see something like that happening. I definitely like that idea. It's also really funny too how you were on this whole thing about having these theories and them getting shot down, but that's always okay. Sometimes you might even want them to get shot down, because I did a video some time ago before Crash 4 was a thing. People were saying Crash 4 should be, or Spyro 4 should be, and I'm like, well, we don't know if they are the fourth game or going to be called Crash 4, Spyro 4. So I made a video that was called My Stance, and it was more so this video of, okay, well, if it does happen or it doesn't happen, like, how should it be handled? Should the formula come back of the classics? Should they remix it? Should they do something different? Some of that got proven right, some of that got proven wrong, and that's good, because I was like, okay, I wasn't expecting them to go this route with, like, Crash 4. I mean, now we have it here, and it's like, okay, cool. So now, since people are still adamant on calling this next Spyro game that we're thinking might happen Spyro 4, it's like, okay, well, still stands, but we'll see where they go with it. And I've got videos I'm making right now about that. So
no, absolutely. And the thing is with Spyro 4, quote unquote Spyro 4, right? Air quotes.
Yeah.
You have to go back and look and see, was it, you can see that there's subtleties in the way they sequeled the Spyro. Like, was it ever called Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage, or was it called Spyro Ripto's Rage, right?
Yeah.
Was it called Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon, or just Spyro Year of the Dragon, right? And if you look at Ripto's Rage on the emblem, the background,
Yeah,
there
the two.
is a 2. It's a 2, but if no one pointed it out to you, it's subtle. And if you look on the I guess the golden, it would either be a gong or like a coin over on Spyro 3. The dragon's head isn't like the head is in the shape, and arms are out, looks like a 3. But again, it's very subtle. So will this be called Spyro 4? To be honest, in my opinion, I don't know, but I don't think so. I think that we'll have a subtlety of 4 in there, but I don't think we're going to see, it's not going to be slammed in there like Spyro 4. I think it's going to be called Spyro, because if we look at how Spyro titled everything else, even post Insomniac, you have Enter the Dragonfly, you have Hero's Tale, you have Legend of Spyro Eternal Suffering, and then Legend of Spyro Dawn of the Dragon, right? But they didn't call it Dawn of the Dragon, The Legend of Spyro 3, Legend of Spyro 2. It was always just called, it was always just the title Spyro and then a name underneath it, right? So again, I don't know, but if we were to look at what Crash Bandicoot did, which they did, Crash Bandicoot did do Crash Bandicoot 2, Crash Bandicoot 3, right? They had that included. Will they do and then they moved on to Crash Bandicoot 4, right? So they looked at the originals and made a 4th one. Will they do that for Spyro? I don't know. We have no clue. We have no idea. But the fact is that it's okay to be right and it's okay to be wrong when it comes to this, as long as we're just all throwing darts at a board, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean, is that we're all just trying to figure out what's going on. We all want to know what's happening, and we're all firing theories and bouncing off each other. And the thing is that to turn around and say somebody's theory is wrong, period, for the sake of I don't like it, it really just silences people, and it's not cool. It's not cool. People should be able, everybody, whether it be from someone who's played Crash Bandicoot for 2 years or all their life, because you can find that everybody, when they chime in together and they're talking and we're coming up with ideas and stuff like that, you'd be shocked that someone who's new to the series have fresh ideas that could work for Crash, right?
Yeah.
So you have the old veterans who have played since Crash Bandicoot 1.
Here,
and have played every
raise
game
hand.
ever since. Yeah, yeah, present. And then you have the people that just got into Crash Bandicoot maybe at the Insane trilogy, or even Crash Bandicoot 4. And they're like, hey, I really like Crash Bandicoot, but I think it would do really well with a certain mechanic that, like from another game, it would work well with the formula. And then something that maybe someone who's been playing Crash all their life couldn't see. You get what I mean? Because, you can get narrow-minded. But if you are a veteran, you know the mechanics of Crash, and you know it's supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do this. And like, for example, one of the things that Toys for Bob did really well, which I think was kind of like the quote unquote like secret sauce to Crash Bandicoot 4, was that I watched a video by, I think it's Technica, I can't remember the channel name, but they did a mini 30-minute documentary on Crash Bandicoot with the original titles, and they were talking to like the programmers and trying to get their thoughts. And one of the things that they wanted to do was that with Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3, they always eliminated one dimension. So you can go left, right, forward, not back, right? Or you can go forward, left, right, but not or you can go left, right, forward, but not back. They essentially eliminated one dimension, right? In terms of progression, right?
Yeah.
And like, of course you can go backwards, and of course you can go left, right, and forward. You can go any direction, but it is done in a way that's really well. And I think that Toys for Bob really looked at that, and they were like, okay. And if you go and you play, there are open areas, but to progress, you can only go one of 3 directions, right?
Yeah.
Left, right, or forward, not back. And they really emphasized on that. And that was something that I think Toys for Bob did really well. And that was something that they were able to open up certain areas. Like my favorite example is Snow Way Out, right? Having those big open areas for hopping around on the platforms, but it was still restricted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was that's something that I think that they did really well on. That was something that was, I think, like, just well done on Toys for Bob's part. And I think that Crash 4 was a really good success in a way to be able to bring a classic platformer formula to the modern day while also not adding too much. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like a question of like when there was a saying that I heard is that when does sometimes adding too much things is not the best, because let's say when does the chicken dish become a taco? It's a weird saying, but when does the chicken dish become a taco? So you have the chicken, and then that was the original. Well, what if you add some lettuce, maybe chop it up, add some tomato, add a tortilla wrap? Well, that's no longer is that still the same dish as the first dish, right?
Yeah.
And that's what can happen, is that you're adding and adding and adding and adding so much to it that it's no longer what it originally was, even though the core base it was built around is the same. You've added so much to it now that it doesn't feel like that anymore, right? It's not the same. It's not the same dish. It's not the same meal. It's different. And some people will like that, but people that may have just wanted a chicken dinner to sit down and have a nice piece of chicken, now they're getting a chicken tortilla, and that's not what they wanted, right?
Yeah.
So, and I feel like that where Toys for Bob, they took the chicken, but they left the chicken alone, and they made it still a chicken dish, but better than or tried to expand upon what the original dish did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like everything complements the chicken. It doesn't overcrowd the chicken.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. There you go. But my chef analogy for Crash Bandicoot 4 and
I mean, it makes sense to me. So the thing too,
well, it makes sense.
The thing too that I like about it is how that structure isn't even foreign to Crash. It's already happened in both Twinsanity and Titans or Mind Over Mutant. It's just that those were trying to go in this different route. Twinsanity was a open world interconnected type of Crash game, and Titans Mind Over Mutant were beat 'em up platformers. This married that type of exploration, or rather navigation style, and the more open areas. They married that with the classic linear hallway platforming, and I like that a lot.
That was brilliantly done by Toys for Bob. They did a great job of that, and not to discount Twinsanity either, because I feel like Twinsanity was a project that it is a product for its time, but if it was given the proper chance, I think it would have been a really phenomenal Crash game. But I think Toys for Bob, and I agree with you, I do think Toys for Bob looked at the other games and both their achievements and their mistakes, because I feel like that they took the personality, or a similar personality, of the Twinsanity Cortex and brought it here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They brought it into this game, which I think in Twinsanity, the best part of it is Cortex. And they brought that sassy, funny, a little bit dark character to Crash Bandicoot 4. Where for me, I feel like when you got to Crash the Titans, and especially Mind Over Mutant, I feel like Cortex, the humor in the game went a little overboard. I feel like certain characters went a little bit overboard. I feel like the funny thing about Crash is the humor comes from riding the line, not crossing it. Don't cross the line into like the complete and utter dirty jokes or whatever. Is when it rides the line. Like it rides it, it references it, and it's there, but it's not there, right? It's like you know what they're pointing at, what they're trying to do, but it's not there. It's not enough to really pin it down, but it's riding the line. And I think that there is a really good point in doing that, because I feel like in Mind Over Mutant, there were times where they crossed the line, and it actually came out less funny, I found. I found it was a little, like, there were some bits that were funny, but some bits were a little less funny. Meanwhile, Crash Bandicoot 4, it rode the line, and it rode one of the best cutscene in the game to me is when Entropy shows up as a hologram right after you beat Cortex the first time, and he tells him that he's going to take over the universe, and Cortex is like, deleted by the blue peacock, and he goes, I'll take his tuning fork and shove it right up his, and then Coco interjects with the butt at all. That bit was so funny when I played that afterwards. I just kept replaying that in my head over and over again, and I'm like, that is exactly the riding the line bit that is perfect. That cutscene was done perfectly. I couldn't have improved it at all. It was funny. It was great. It was like Cortex is like, "Is this all there is?" And Crash is just like, "No." He's like, "Nah." Is there? That whole cutscene is great. And a critique I have for Crash 4 is I want to see more of that. That's more. Yeah. Give me more. It's great.
I mean, Crash 4 had a fantastic blend in its humor and its writing of delivering great lines and great jokes, and then having great body language and physical humor. Because that's something that Lou in the State of Play said that they wanted to reference the old cartoons, the Looney Tunes and everything else that the old Crash was inspired by, and really ramp that up with how expressive they are, their fluid and fast-paced movements, and how erratic they can be sometimes. And going back to how you were saying with Mind Over Mutants humor, to an extent, I mean, I do agree as well. There are still some things that I find kind of funny, but I definitely... one little mini critique I have about Mind Over Mutant, more so than Titans of the two games, is that... Yes, that writing was much more of something you would find in a Cartoon Network show than a Crash Bandicoot game. And you get things like Uka Uka saying the word nipples, or Cortex talking about memes, or Coco saying, "Oh, Cortex has a blog," and it's like, okay, this is a little weird for Crash.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I was feeling about it too. Or the those little creatures, I think they're ratsicles, or in the second game where you punch, where you keep punching him, he's like, "Oh, I like that." It's like, it's funny, but it's like, would you see that in a Crash Bandicoot game? And it's like, no. It's like, it was. What would have been funny is that if he actually said he was in pain, and then he said it with like a suggestive tone that he goes, "Please don't do that again," but he says it in a way it's like, "Please do it again." Then that's where it's like, okay, that brings it back down more to the, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, not the outright,
harder, daddy,
awkward, harder. Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, God, that's not, no, that's what I mean by crossing the line.
That's why we have Engine.
Right, exactly, right. I do love Engine,
I liked it when he did that.
I like the Crash of the Titans engine where he gets the espresso spit on him. He's like, "Yes, master, thank you."
Yeah.
But that is in line with the Crash line, with the Crash universe, because it's funny because he's so enslaved by Cortex. He's thanking him for spitting hot coffee on his face. That is funny, and that's why I actually really enjoy the writing of Crash of the Titans. I really do. And it's like the only time where things get a little hairy in Crash of the Titans is when he calls Nina Cortex at the end. You know what you know where I'm going with that, right?
Yeah.
And I know the original term of what it originally meant. I get that, but for modern day and when it was written, that term is used for something else now, right?
Yeah.
But that was the only bit that was like, okay, that kind of crossed the line a little bit, but it was fine. Then Mind Over Mutant came along, like, hey, let's take that type of humor and just make it for the rest of the entire game. And that's what I did not enjoy Mind Over Mutant personally. But I very much enjoyed Crash of the Titans. Very much enjoyed that. But I feel like again, I can't help but leave from the fact that Crash Bandicoot 4 is a game that I can keep coming back and playing. I can replay too. Even Crash Insane, for me, it was the originals and it was great and I loved it. For me, I could play Crash Insane, play through it and say, okay, and I could put it down for a month and a half and not be bothered and be like, that's fine. And then when I come back, oh yeah, okay, I'll pick up Crash Insane and play it again, play it for a bit. Crash 4, there's an itch. You put it down. And you're like, okay, I'm good for playing Crash 4. And 4 days later, you get that urge. You're like, I want to get that insanely perfect relic on Toxic Tunnels. I gotta go for it. I want to go for it. It's an itch. And it's an itch that's like, I need to scratch it. I gotta do it. And I will shamelessly admit where sometimes I was working on a video and the itch came and I look and I'm like, I can't keep working. I have to scratch this itch, and I boot up Crash Bandicoot 4, and I play an hour or two of it, and I'm like, okay, I got my fix. I put it down, and then a few days later, here it comes again, and that's why I can keep going back to Crash 4, because some people are like, oh, why are you still streaming Crash 4? Because it's fun to me. I enjoy it. It's great, and it's always got that come back and play type of not rhythm, but just this pattern that I have for it. It's just like, come back and play me. It's like, okay, I'm not arguing.
I'll heed your call.
Yeah, exactly. So that and I think that Toys for Bob did a really good job with that too. And I think that and this is a question for you, because I know you usually ask me the questions, but I want to ask you the question. Okay. Is that, do you trust Toys for Bob to handle the Crash Bandicoot franchise in terms of the platformers, not the racing, just the platformers, for the rest of its life, in terms of as long as it's in Activision's hands?
From what I've seen from this game, I would say absolutely. And that's really funny, because if you asked me that, like, even 2-3 years ago, I'd probably be like, what? Because I was still of that mind. Well, I was still of that mind where, even though, I mean, I don't know if you in particular know, but a lot of people know my history with talking about Skylanders and how that was started by Toys for Bob. So that was the first thing I ever knew them for.
Of course.
So I wasn't quick to bash the company. I just really didn't like how they handled Spyro and how they started that series. Right. And I'm not going to go too much into the history, of course, but after the fact, and I was, another Skylanders game, okay, another one, no, okay, what the hell's going on here? It's like caught at this point. But then after that, and after that wave passed, and my whole feelings with whatever passed, it came to a point where then when Crash was announced for the revival back at E3 2016, and then saying he's going to be put in Skylanders, I went, okay, what? I was like, whoa. How are they going to handle this? So all that to say that after all that passed, I even made a video like, okay, guys, well, I'll cave. I'll play Imaginators. I'm only going to play for Thump and Wumpa, and then I'm just going to end it there. I actually ended up playing the whole game. And I know it's not a Toys for Bob game, but I went, hey, they kind of improved some stuff here and there. All right. It didn't necessarily give me incentive to go back to the other Skylanders games, but at least with the very first one, the very last one, for consoles anyway, I was like, okay, well, the first one left a bad taste in my mouth. The last one was okay. Even, Crash, not even if you take Crash out of the equation, there were some bits of the main game I actually legitimately liked. But seeing that Toys for Bob's next immediate thing was Reignited, and I went, whoa, okay, wow, they did fucking, of 2018, everything that went on with speculating about Spyro and then playing Spyro, streaming it, doing everything, we're like, oh, they freaking nailed this. In certain areas, and Miharu goes into a lot of detail about lore bits or character portrayals, there are some things that were patchy and whatever, just in the translation. But for the product we got, it's amazing. Yeah. And that made me go, okay, so I don't know, I guess it was just the demographic that Skylanders was hitting, and so they felt they needed to make the game a bit easier and more simple and kind of handholdy to accommodate for that, or what, but that's Skylanders era Toys for Bob, with handling Crash and Spyro as those brands. They flipped the switch and flipped the game and completely stayed faithful, tried to go as far as they could with adding whatever they added and all that stuff. So it was really good, and I'm like, okay, and it's not to like bash Skylanders, those games suck, but when they did this was good. It's like, no, you see a progression, and you see exactly. That you see that they understand the weight of what Spyro the Dragon means to people, which I felt didn't come across with this inclusion in Skylanders. So I was at first very hesitant to see how they were going to handle Spyro. Then when I found out, it was Toys for Bob behind Reunited, I went, ooh, okay, well, how's this going to work? But then trailer after trailer, screenshot after screenshot, all the news, all the things, we were like, oh my god, this is actually really freaking cool. So when Crash came out, and all that stuff happened with Crash 4, we're like, all right, well, you already got my attention with Reunited, so, like, let's see what you got. And then they bring this out, and it's like, oh, fuck. Like, damn.
And I think that, and the big thing that, I think the biggest thing with the general anger towards Skylanders, and I'm about 95% certain I know why people were so against Skylanders. A lot of people were. And because here's the thing, if Skylanders would have came out before when I was a kid, and I didn't know about Spyro, man, I would have eaten that game up for breakfast, dinner, lunch, second breakfast. Man, I would, because the idea, because just imagine the idea, because when you're a kid, you have such an imagination. All your toys have names, all your toys have voices, all your toys go on adventures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And imagine taking a toy and crossing it with a video game and seeing your toy essentially come to life on screen. The sheer concept and idea of that in terms of a child's imagination is absolutely wild. So why did it miss a lot of, especially I would say, early Spyro fans? And I think it's because we got Skylanders instead of Spyro. Because that was something that was frustrating, is that Skylanders came out and Activision was treating it as if it was a Spyro game. Like, yeah, you guys are getting a Spyro game. It's called Skylanders.
Yeah.
And Spyro fans were like, no, that isn't a Spyro game. Spyro, yes, is in it, but that's not, just because it kind of looks like the character and it kind of has a resemblance to the original. To a lot of fans, and I'm not saying to everybody, because there are some early Spyro fans that loved Skylanders, and all the power to you. But I think that the anger that was directed towards Skylanders was because of the fact that Spyro, we were getting that instead of Spyro. If another company had continued the Spyro games and Skylanders came out as its own brand and they had like guest starring Spyro,
Yeah.
and it was a slightly reworked Spyro, but the other Spyro games were still going, I would have promised you no one would have batted an eye of rage towards Skylanders. I think everyone would have been like, oh yeah, cool, Skylanders. Yeah, that's fun. You know, that's a cool idea for kids or for young adults or whatnot. That's a really cool idea. You know, that's really cool. Oh, I guess star Spyro. Hey, maybe I'll check it out, but I'm going to go play my Spyro, whatever would have came out at the time if it was continuing to release. And that is where I think a lot of people were upset, was the fact that they were getting that instead of Spyro. And they took their anger towards the thought of Spyro is dead, Skylanders killed him. And I think that that's where a lot of people got it mad. And I will admit that I was a part of that group. I did not like Skylanders. I was always against that. That is not Spyro. That is not my Spyro. But as soon, and it's funny because as soon as Reignited came out, right? And, you know, and it is an apology from me, too, because Toys for Bob is an amazing studio, and I couldn't see past the Toys to Life beating Spyro down and keeping Spyro away from me. I couldn't see past that, and that was an error on my part. I could not see past it. But as soon as they walk past the Toys to Life thing and say, hey, here's Spyro Reignited, and I could look at them as a studio without that phase of anger, I look at Skylanders now and I feel nothing. I don't feel any sort of resentment or any sort of anger like I did before. And I will admit I did before. I understood that it was great for kids, but at the same token of time, it's like, yeah, I understand it's a great idea, but, and that but was always, for lack of a better term, butting into my thought process of things. So to see Toys for Bob not just nail Spyro Reignited, but then turn around and nail Spyro Crash 4. I love the studio. I've met with the studio back when Reignited was coming out.
Yep.
And oh man, man, they are so kind. They are so kind. They are so nice. They are so genuine. The Toys for Bob studio, they're awesome, and their studio is awesome. It's half pirate, half tiki's, and it's amazing. All the developers were on the pirate side and we were on the tiki side, all the QA testing and stuff. And it was really cool because one of the things, I never really talked about this either, and I kind of wish I did, was that I was sitting there and I was, we were doing the Dino Mines demo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what had happened was I was one of the first groups to go in. So I think I was the first group to go in. So we walked in and we went to Dino Mines. And we're playing through it, and we're having a blast. The game is great. I'm so happy. I'm like shaking internally because this is the first time I've ever played it, right?
Yeah.
And because I know you went and played the Treetops demo at E3.
Yeah.
I was so that was my first time playing was the Dino Mines one. It was so fun. I had a blast. It was so great. And what had happened was that when I walked out, they had the QA station open for people to actually play the other versions of the demo. And what was really cool was that there was the not PAX demo, another demo that was going around worldwide, which was the Stonehill, the one that we saw at the Gamescom. Yeah, they had the Gamescom demo there, and then they also let me try the E3 demo as well. And I tried it, and it was really interesting to see the evolution of controls and feeling, because I was noticing with the E3 one, a lot of controls were really loose. It was like, okay, it's like, it's there, but it's not quite. And then you got to the Gamescom demo, and it was like, okay, we're starting to really get there. It's getting sharp and snappy. And then Dragon Minds is like, okay, there it is. Here it is. It's feeling good. And that was to Toys for Bob. They are an amazing studio. They are awesome. They're lovely people to speak with. Paul Yan, man, biggest sweetheart ever. He was a big sweetheart, and it was awesome to talk with him. And I'm hopefully when COVID is done, if and when, an opportunity like that will arise as well, because I also went to Beanox, and they were just as welcoming and just as loving as Toys for Bob are. I'm like, man, you can see the passion is oozing from them.
Yeah.
They are just oozing with love and passion for these games. They love these games. They do. They're not in it for the paycheck, like for some game companies where you can definitely tell, like, okay, yeah, you can see this is kind of contrived. No, they are there, and they want to create, and they want to create a good game, not just a good game. They want to create a great game, and they love it, and they are passionate, and they do great work. And I'm looking forward to a very happy future with Toys for Bob. If Toys for Bob leads the way for both Crash and Spyro, I'm okay with that. If it's Toys for Bob with support of Beanox and Activision Shanghai, and then it goes, and they somehow have the workload, because you have to think too, they started Crash Bandicoot 4 in 2017. They were developing Crash Bandicoot 4 while developing Reignited. Think about that for a second. How insane is that?
I know, man. I know.
like before Reignited was allegedly started, okay, they were working on Crash Bandicoot 4. And somehow, while working with Crash Bandicoot 4, they also worked on Reignited. Then also, not just that though, they also did the Switch port for Insane.
Yeah.
So, like, what? These guys are nuts. What workload do you have? That is insane. Now, if you throw Beanox in there, which just announced that their studios are expanding. They had that big French conference where they're expanding their offices, and they're getting more employees and hiring more people. If you got Toys for Bob, or Toys for Beasts at this point, if you got TFB developing and leading the way with Beanox as a support studio, which is no studio to slouch at, with Activision Shanghai running the programming and QA, or a large portion of that, man, that is one heck of a team. That is one heck of a team. And I think that I think that Activision, if they do their things right, because as we know, Vicarious Visions merged with Blizzard, right?
Yeah.
If Activision plays this right between Crash, Spyro, and the studios, and able to keep everyone happy, man, I think that they have a franchise, just a few mega franchises just waiting to explode. And the fact that if there's any testament to how important Crash Bandicoot is to Activision, King, the mobile game King, with the number one app basically in all of everything, Candy Crush, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the first mom app. That was the first, almost every mother has this on their tablet phone. Almost every, oh man, Candy Crush came out, and there's arcade machines with Candy Crush. There's, it's everywhere. They are, and the only other thing that they developed was another game. It was I can't remember. It's like a pop game. I can't remember. It's almost identical to Candy Crush, just a little bit different.
Yeah.
Their third title they're making is Crash Bandicoot, right? King is one of the biggest mobile companies in the world, and they only have a very few games. They don't have like 27 games in their portfolio. They only have a few, and one of them is Crash Bandicoot. And that really, I think, shows to Activision. It really shows Activision's hand and how important Crash Bandicoot is to them, I think. Now, I could be wrong, but I think that them investing the money into creating a game like Crash on the Run, I think shows that Crash is here to stay.
Oh, definitely. The thing too that solidifies that, which I like, is that they really have a good head to be like, okay, yeah, we're kind of reverting back to how the classics were and the feel of it and everything. So when you market it, it's the updated version of Classic Crash, and it's fine, it's safe, it's okay to do for what we've got. They came out with, everything that has come out so far has been brilliant, because, and especially the way they play it, with having a remaster of the classics. Okay, boom, you already got the old guys, the vets, and then you got some newcomers for a new audience. You got Nitro Field showing that Crash can still jump, as he did 20 years ago, genres and still crush the competition. Doing better than, I think it did do better in sales than Team Sonic Racing, and it's like on par with like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And then
it's doing well.
And then Crash 4 comes out, and it's like, okay, this is the next new game that we've gotten in like a decade, and it's still, super, super well and super good. And then you got Crash on the Run, which has gotten so much support, so much attention, and this is the first Crash mobile game since those racing games from 2010, which barely got much support, barely functioned, for lack of a better term. They were okay.
Calling it a game is more like calling it a headache.
I've got 2 of them on my iPod still, and I don't come back to them so very often, but they're there, and it's like, okay, I mean, hey, Yaya came from that, she's in Nitro Field, that was at least something, but like, in terms of the mobile realm, which Crash, that was like one of his first, one of the first, I mean, Twin Sanity or whatever else had some Nokia stuff back in the day, but like, at least with Apple and all that stuff, you have Crash Bandicoot, Nitro Kart 3D, Crash, Nitro Kart 2, all that stuff. But Crash on the Run has these awesome trailers, great support. It looks fantastic. It could have easily also been a console game. Essentially, but like, it shows that Activision is trying to be as careful as they can with still being creative, still giving their own take on Crash through the devs of how Crash should be handled, but they've found a way to hit the jackpot with Crash, which everyone was saying, oh, Crash declined after Naughty Dog, but like now, whether that's the case or not, and that's people's opinions, yada yada, left way, right way, but like, Activision found a way right from the start with Insane to play it a little bit differently, listen to the fans, and try as much to, a balance between what they want to do with it and then listening to the fan feedback to make sure they get it right. And now we're in this era where like, it feels like the way Crash is big now, the way Crash was big in the 90s. That's what it feels like.
It definitely feels like it's. I definitely agree that it's. I would say it's more on the way there. I think that one more game, or giving it one more game, I think definitely would get it to where it felt like in the 90s.
Yeah.
I am shocked with as how well Activision is treating these games. And I I almost wanted to make a video where because as you know, since the Insane trilogy and Reignited trilogy, we've been getting remakes left, right, and center. We've been getting we got the Medieval remake. We got the
Destroy All Humans.
But then we got Destroy All Humans, Battle for Bikini Bottom, and
Tony Hawk.
Then Tony Hawk, right? Another one from Activision. But here's the thing, though, and what the funny thing was that I would say right now, in terms of the remake industry right now, Activision holds the top dog lead on that, and one of the reasons why is because the value of Insane Trilogy and Reignited Trilogy destroys every other remake I've seen. Like, okay, you got Battle for Bikini Bottom, it's $29.99, $39.99? I can't remember how much it was. But
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was one game, right? One game, and even if you like argue whether or not the game was good or not, even setting that aside, in terms of like the content that you got 3 games with Crash Insane and 3 games with Spyro Reignited. Medieval, again, short, fun little game. It was like $30, 20, $30. But again, in comparison to the value of Crash and Spyro, it still pales in comparison. And then you got and then you got the remake that makes me beyond angry is Link's Awakening, because the fact that it was a Game Boy game and then they charged in Canada it's $79.99. I wanted to vomit. And I'm like, are you serious? And the game looks good, doesn't run the best on Switch, to be honest. I see a lot of frame dips for Game Boy Color game. But that one infuriated me because I had to pay full price for that. And I look over at Crash and Spyro, and again, was it $39.99 at launch for you guys for Crash and Spyro?
Yeah.
Okay, so in Canada, Crash and Spyro at launch was, because it was an awkward price, it was $52.99 in Canada. A brand new game is $79.99, right? So the thing is that Medieval again was $39.99. All these games. I had to come to the conclusion that we can't compare remakes to the Crash and Spyro remakes in terms of value anymore, because there's almost nothing on the market that's equivalent in terms of value, in terms of work. Like, yeah, you got the Mario remakes, the 3 games in one, but again, $79.99, and they're ports.
Yeah.
They're upscale ports.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, point to me one game, and I'm genuine, like, do you know, because I might be wrong, one game that comes with 3 games remastered from the ground up, remastered from the ground up, a la like Crash and Spyro. It doesn't even matter what the quality of the game is in terms of like if it's a AAA title. 3 games done like Crash and Spyro from the ground up for $39.99.
Yeah, no, they're actually, from I remember all the remasters I've seen come out since then, there have been none that have ever matched that. I mean, I thought Mario was going to do that, but it being Nintendo, they took the easy way out.
Yeah, of course. And you see, that is where I'm like, because I remember on my own podcast one time when I'm talking with Shem, we were talking about these remakes that were coming out, and it's like, yeah, but it pales in comparison. Like, it pales in comparison to the Insane and Reignited trilogy. And I just come to the conclusion that we can't compare it anymore. We can't, because there's nothing better than it right now. It is the value of that. 3 gorgeous games on each, and then also too, they have the bundle pack where you could buy 6 games for $59.99. So that's even better. Like, they're just like, hey, let's take this deal that we had that no one can match, and let's just make it better. let's 6 games, all beautiful, all gorgeous, with their own remade music, re-voice, re-this, re-that, redone from the ground up for $10 a piece. Like hell talk
yeah.
About. I'm like, when have you ever seen 6 games for $59.99 of the quality of Insane and Reignited? Nowhere. It's insane. It's literally insane, and we can't even compare it anymore. We can't even compare remakes and stuff between all these different companies, because the Insane and Reignited just blows them all out of the water. And I think that is and that's not being me to say, oh, I love Crash and Spyro, they're so much better than everything. No, it's subjectively, or objectively. Objectively, what game has come out that has the same value? And the answer, to my knowledge, and I might be wrong, but to my knowledge, is none. And I would love to be able to see if there's anything like that, where there's, oh yeah, you can buy 3 Mario games, for the cost of $40, right? Or 3 Donkey Kong games, 3 whatever. I can almost promise you that when that Metroid Prime trilogy Switch port that everybody's been waiting for, that everybody and their dog has been waiting to come out, and everybody knows it exists, everyone's like, okay, yes, there's a Metroid Prime trilogy for the Switch coming soon. We don't know when, but it's coming soon. Promise you, it's just going to be like up-res ports, $79.99.
Yeah, more than likely.
And it's like, man, please, Nintendo, please just. I have bones to pick with Nintendo this year.
I think everyone does. Yeah.
Like, everyone's got bones to pick with Nintendo. Nintendo's just like, man, you got. Well, it's kind of hard to not compare, Crash and Spyro with Nintendo, because Nintendo was the king of the platforming scene, and they were still one of the main, outside of indie studios, the main AAA company releasing platforming games even in the modern day. But now Activision is going toe to toe with them and undercutting everything that they're doing, and I think that Crash and Spyro on. I also, another thing too is I do think Crash 4 is going to come to the Switch, and I think that's going to make the game blow up way more than before. So I think that's going to be really good, because a lot of the people that because it's funny. Sorry, I keep going on and on.
It's fun,
it's
man.
funny because if you look at it, a lot of people that own multiple consoles, 9 times out of 10, it's like a PlayStation or an Xbox and a Switch.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And for games that they really enjoy, they're going to double dip. I double dip 100 all the time. If I love a game on my console, I'll buy it for Switch when it comes out for Switch. The thing is that the Switch whole houses people who are fans of platformers. And then not just that, though, they're going to get people double dipping again, and the prices are just going to hike up. The sales are just going to hike once again. And I think that that's going to be an amazing thing to be able to see how Toys for Bob, the wizards at being able to port things to the Switch, because the insane port for Switch is literally insane. It's so well done.
yeah, it is.
It's one of my favorite ports, but I think that when Crash 4 comes out for the Switch, I think I can't wait to see what they do with it. I can't wait to see how well it runs, because usually they're wizards. Spyro Reignited handheld definitely had its issues, but Spyro was pretty big too. So
yeah. Oh, don't get me started about that whole thing. The double disc, or how is it going to work on Switch, or how big is it?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was that. And to be honest, I think that has to all do with the whole not everything on one disc. The reasoning why is just likely optimization issues, where it's just like they're crunched for time. And it's like, okay, we got to get this out, get it to a point where, and that's it. They're like, okay, it's too big for a disc. We can't afford this, that, and the other. Okay, just make it a patch, and then just called it a day, right? And it's unfortunate, but I mean, it is what it is. Now there are reprints, right? The reprints are out now. They're like 30. It's now like 33 gigabytes on disc, I think. 32,
something like that.
Yeah. Something like that, yeah. But anyway, yeah.
The one thing that I do like about N-Syn and Reignited, just going back on that train for just a brief moment,
yeah, sure,
is how whether plans for other companies and other devs doing other things, whether plans for certain projects were already in the works or not, or if Crash and Spyro were a direct result of certain things coming out. I do like how we're mentioning Tony Hawk, Medieval, SpongeBob, Shadow of the Colossus, even stuff like that. Even the Demon Souls one that's either already out or coming out soon. I don't know if it's already out yet, but it's coming. So like a lot of those I feel could have been indirect. Could have been a direct result of N-Syn and Reignited doing so well. The fact that Crash and Spyro are two juggernauts from PlayStation that are back.
Oh, absolutely.
And not even just for other remasters popping up and devs looking back at certain franchises and giving certain games a second chance. Even other characters who had their own series, like Alex Kidd's getting a freaking remake. It's a Miracle World DX, and KO the Kangaroo's getting a new game, and
Ty Tasmanian Tiger.
Yeah, Ty has new life breathed into that series too, and even characters like Bubsy. If Bubsy can come back. You would not have even imagined you'd see that motherfucker again before Crash came out. They went, oh, so these platforms, they back to their old tricks again, and I think they referenced, I don't think it was Crash, but they did reference Sonic in one of their trailers, and it's like, oh my god, back to that wisecracking, fucking one-liner ass Bubsy, back again.
Oh yeah. And the thing is that I do agree with you, but you know what the funny thing is though, and something that I didn't realize was that, and I don't know why, was that there was one other company that, and not for a small IP either, one of the biggest IPs in the world, did exactly what Crash and Spyro did, but it didn't start the trend for some reason. It was the Master Chief, Halo Anniversary Master.
Oh yeah,
the
yeah.
Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary Edition, where it did that. It was like it was the same thing as like Crash and Spyro, where they had the original. The original game, and they painted over it, and they made sure it still was the same, but was different. It looked better, but the trend didn't start there. It didn't. It was just, for some reason, people saw Combat Evolved, said, "Huh, that's cool," and then just moved on. And then Crash did it, but I think it was because it was for a comeback series and not for a series that was already well known.
Yes, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah,
what were you gonna say? Sorry.
So what I was gonna say was that like, sure, we hadn't seen the Chief in the while, but it wasn't like at the status of like Crash.
He wasn't
and
dead.
Spyro,
Yeah.
It wasn't at the same status as Crash and Spyro. And I think though it was that was a wonderful idea for Activision to say, hey, let's do what that did, but let's do it with an old game, and that is not on the market anymore. And it's boomed this entire industry. It's boomed this entire concept. We've gotten these beautiful and wonderful remakes, like Shadow of the Colossus. That was a pretty good remake.
Yeah.
Then we got Medieval. Medieval was a good remake. I enjoyed it, even though that one didn't get critically like acclaimed. I still enjoyed Medieval. All of these games are now all coming back, and they're all considered as alive franchises. And my favorite thing that my buddy that Mecca said, he called these games heartbeat checks or pulse checks. Where and you know what, it was probably one of the best terminologies ever, and it was simply because that they did it, and so they could see and test, like, is there life here? And you take the creme de la creme of the game that the game has ever come out with, and you present that as the best, and then you see, okay, is there life? And if there isn't, well, it's unfortunate. The game gets put to rest, and unfortunately, I believe it's happened to Medieval, unfortunately, because, I mean, I don't want it to, but I feel like that it has happened to Medieval, because we hear literally nothing of Sir Daniel. Nothing, like literally nothing. And it's kind of sad because, I think there's a lot of potential for a brand new Medieval. I think there's a lot of potential for a new, you could even make it like a Dark Souls style game, even if you wanted to. A Dark Souls style, because I mean, there are elements of that to Medieval. Medieval's difficult. It's hard. It's not easy. And I think having some aspects of that would have been really interesting for Medieval, something kind of cool in that line. But to my knowledge, we're not getting anything Medieval related. When did Medieval come out? Was it 2018? When did it?
I think so. I think it was 2018, because 2017 PSX is when the tease happened, or the announcement rather.
Right. But wait, no. Spyro came out in 2018.
18
November.
Okay.
So no, it must have been no. Then no, I think Medieval came out in 2019. Then
maybe no. I think you're right.
It came out on the Halloween. Yeah, it came out during Halloween time, right? It came out during.
I think
Halloween.
You're right.
I don't think it came out before. Yeah, no, it came out in 2019, and it's maybe okay. Maybe I'll take back my comment on it being dead, because it's been a year and a bit. We haven't heard anything. I don't know.
Well, what I was going to say was, on that other side of that coin, I mean, yes, there's the possibility that maybe they tried something, it was okay, but didn't do well enough to warrant experimenting further. However, even if they are working on something behind the scenes, and we always say, but we don't know, they probably aren't outright teasing or announcing anything, because maybe the teases or the announcements, that, like the unclear announcements or the whatever, mainly the teases, probably won't catch as much attention as something like Crash or Spyro have been, with the tweets or being sent the gifts and all that. So
I'm hoping that Sir Daniel is not going to stay in his crypt forever. I really do. I'm in the I don't know stage either. I was a little bit negative on it, but now I'm thinking about the timeline, like, okay, maybe not so as negative as I thought. I hope that they do something new. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to kind of wait and see, kind of like having to waiting and see with Crash and Spyro. We'll have to see what's coming up next. If there's going to be a new Spyro, a new CTR, what's Wumpa League, how's Crash on the Run going to perform? Is there going to be a mobile game for Spyro? There are so many questions.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm super excited to be able to kind of sit here and see what happens. I'm really excited to see how this all works out.
Exactly.
And, I think that there's bright futures for Crash and Spyro. I don't think that they're going to go the Resurrect Fortescue route. I think they're going to be going to, not Resurrect Fortescue, just, Sir Daniel Fortescue route in general. I don't think that they're going to be going that route. I think they're going to be still kicking, still alive, still hanging out. Because I remember people were panicking about Crash 4's sales. And they're like, oh yeah, it's not as much as Insane so far. It's like, well, yeah, one, Insane is on the premise of it being a remaster of the classics, right?
Yeah.
And I can promise you a bunch of people picked up those games just based off of nostalgia alone, played it for 10 minutes and was like, oh my gosh, this is too hard. And they put it down. And they see Crash Bandicoot 4. They're like, okay, that's cool. I failed at Crash Bandicoot Insane. I'm not going to pick this one up. One. And then two, there is going to be a bunch of people that are going to be waiting for the Switch port. Because that comment has, if I had a dime every time I heard that comment of
the Switch port comment,
yeah, is the Switch port coming? Man, I could retire from YouTube. But the thing is that it's because there's a need and want there, and I'm not knocking those comments down. There's a need and there's a want, and they want it bad, and so they should deserve it. So I think that Crash 4 is in it for the long run, because you also have to think too. There were 10 million users that pre-registered for Crash on the Run. They're going to be advertising Crash 4 through Crash on the Run. You're going to see. You're going to hear.
Yeah.
You're going to hear the music sting of some of the clips from Crash Bandicoot 4. They're going to show off Crash Bandicoot 4. They're going to have an order now, and Crash Bandicoot on the Run is going to get. And the biggest thing about Crash Bandicoot on the Run is it's getting into hands and the market of people that have never been introduced to Crash Bandicoot. The young kids, the older adults that thought gaming was basically a waste of time when they were kids, and now they're gaming. That's what Crash on the Run, I think, is targeting. That's the main thing, is that they are bringing new people to the game, and I think Crash on the Run is really going to sell Crash. Crash, It's About Time, and any other project that they have in the future.
Yeah. Had a freaking comment, forgot what it was. Awesome. So
isn't that great?
Well, I was actually gonna say something really funny. I was gonna say, so if something for Medieval actually is in the works, and you were sent a skull, what would you do?
Man, that would be great. I would be down for that. I would love to see just like a little Sir Daniel skull, have a little voice box in there you lift up here. It's like, yes, that would be excellent, and I would be down for it. Or it's like you click a button, there's a little spider in the eyeball. I think that would be cool.
But also considering that this year marks Crash's 25th anniversary,
yes,
that's going to contribute to how big everything they've got planned is going to be this year as well.
Yeah.
So whatever, if there is a PvP thing in the works, if whatever Wumpa League is ties into that or something else, we were going to have that cartoon, but unfortunately it was canceled. So it's just the games we have to look forward to at the moment. But whatever is being done,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's very interesting to sit down and see what's going to happen, and I don't know how this is going to work, and because it might be Wumpa, like they might be having okay, so funny, think about this for a second. Okay, you know how I said the 4 months thing, I said about the 4 month theory. So the funny thing is that if something comes out in February, let's say something does come out in February, something is announced in February, then it gets announced. So it comes out in so something gets announced in February, and let's say it gets announced and it comes out 4 or 5 months later. So February, March, April, May, June, right? So let's say 5 months ish. It's 4 or 5 months when they release and announce games. So let's say they announce for fun Spyro quote unquote 4 in February. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they say a release for Spyro will be in June. All right. After that drops, 4 months later is the Crash Bandicoot 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
So, and then that would mean that they would be queued for another content drop, and then they could drop whatever there. And then 4 months from the last drop of whatever they dropped there would be the next project. And that's my crackpot theory. That's my crackpot tinfoil hat theory.
I wouldn't even say tinfoil hat. It's more of like we've all become detectives in the last like 3-4 years. It's crazy. The more you go into it, it's not to snuff it out and be like, give it to us, give it to us, give it to us. We're not going to stop. Give it to us. It's not even so much as that. It's more so, when you leave breadcrumbs, you can't expect no one to come and pick them up. Like, and that's all of us.
Exactly.
Like, so you've already got us on the ropes, and you've got us talking online, and we're the ones, the influencers, as it were. We're the ones who, are going to be talking to the people about, here's what's happening, here's what we found, here's what we think the direction they might go in, here's this and that. So, like, I wouldn't even call it a crap pot theory. I'd just call it something you're onto something, So, like, and if it's worked in the past, it could still work now.
I hope so. I hope so, because the thing that I was able to really nail on the head was when I said, "Hey, Toys for Bob could be doing the next Spyro remake," and then boom, there it was. That was my biggest "I was right" moment. There was a few other detective theories that I've had that were pretty like on point, and there are others that were missing the mark, and that's fine. That's the point. Is that I'm going to miss the mark. That is going to happen quite a bit.
Yeah.
And things are also going to change as well. Things are going to change and adjust where you could be on the money at one point, but then internally something happens. Like 2020 kind of threw everything out the window, especially when it came to Crash Bandicoot 4, because, we had this Activision pattern, we had these things in our head, and then all of a sudden it all went kaput because of COVID, right?
Yeah.
And so it becomes the question again. I remember I made a video recently where I said, the question is, are they trying to get back onto the pattern that they had, or is there going to be a new pattern because of COVID? We don't know.
True. So yeah, that's definitely true.
That's kind of where I'm at right now.
With the way everyone's having to work, how we were saying at home and everything else, and just how everyone has had to restructure following everything that went down last year. Yeah, now it's, not that it's up in the air. It kind of is, but it's also like, well, let's see. Like on your side, you're probably going like, well, yeah, let's see if that pattern stays or if it's twisted a bit just due to how they have to do their workarounds and whatnot. Yeah, it's up in the air, but it seems like bits and pieces are still there for us to be like, okay, this might still happen, or so-and-so's next game is going to be handled by so-and-so.
Yeah. And there are, like you said, there are breadcrumbs, right? There are little things, and there's still little nuggets of breadcrumbs from the previous theory, where the one theory is that they always release a kid-friendly game or an E10 plus game every year. And that's been true for over a decade. Activision has done that. Yeah. So that they have been doing that. And that is something that's important to hold on to. It's like, okay, what has been true? But like I said, my crackpot theory, I thought of it. I said, wait, because I was saying, 6 months. And then I flipped it. I was like, wait, let me flip it. Instead of like I was like, how much time, because it was on stream last night, and I thought to myself, how much time has there been between from the announcement of a project to the drop of a project to the announcement of the following project? What's the span of time? Yeah. And it was 4 months, like, 3-4 months, 3-4 months, 3-4 months. And I'm like, okay, there's something here. I feel like that there is something important to look at here, because it is a strategy to be like, hey, we want to be in the news constantly for 8 months out of the year, whether it be the game is out, and they give the game almost like 4 months of like advertising. Like, okay, Crash 4 is dropped. It gets 4 months of just spotlight on Crash 4. And then what's the next project? What's the next new content? And then when that content drops, then again, you let that sit for 4 months, and then the next content drops, and they want to be in the news 8 months out of the year,
Yeah. Another thing that I've tried looking at, which I haven't put it together as intricately as you, so you might even want to take this into consideration if you haven't already, but is when a game like Crash 4 or Reignited has already been out, and then you start finding people on Twitter who go, oh, hey, I can talk about this. I worked on this for about 2+ years prior to release. And it's like, okay, well, when you take into consideration how they get to say and reveal how long that they've been working on it prior to when the game actually comes out, you can kind of take that in consideration of, well, now that like Crash 4's out, and that was Toys for Bob, and the last Crash thing was CTR from Beanox, and seeing as Beanox at that point was only helping with Crash 4 and Tony Hawk, and now with Vivi exiting, this little circle, it's like, okay, well now, like, what's Beanox working on? And it's little things like that, and how they've already said,
exactly.
There's something we're working on that we can't mention right now. It's like, okay, well, now here's a new little piece of the puzzle. And there's it's just little bits like that.
That's it. Yeah, and it's a big tapestry. That's why I call it. It's a big tapestry of these strings that you put together, and it's like, okay, and you do like a process of elimination of what games they've worked on, and what they're saying. Like right now, Toys for Bob is hiring. There's going to be a video hopefully releasing next week. Toys for Bob is currently hiring on Glassdoor, and if you go there, they said that their next project is in the Unreal Engine. So you then can say, okay, ding, Crash and Spyro Crash, Spyro, and Tony Hawk have been worked on the Unreal Engine. So you know that they're not working on something that is that they're not working on something that is like Call of Duty, for example. And I know it sounds weird to say, but it's true.
I mean, yeah.
Because it is potentially possible where Toys for Bob can step up and help with Call of Duty. It is a thing. And they might need people to hire for that, but they're not doing that. They're currently working on a game that runs under the Unreal Engine. Therefore, that means it's either Tony Hawk, Crash Bandicoot, or Spyro the Dragon. Unless they're bringing back another IP, which to my knowledge, there isn't too many more, I would say, overly active IP that Activision could bring back right now.
Yeah. See, the thing is that...
I'm trying to think.
Well, because everyone is trying to say, oh, there's evidence and hints and little bits of a Skylanders return. And I'm thinking to myself, I do not, unless they, like, in terms of the creative aspect of a Skylanders game, unless they massively... basically, unless it's not Toys to Life, it's not going to probably work in their favor. Because there are Skylanders entries, mainly mobile and handheld, that... even some of the handhelds do interact with the portal, but it's like... there are some Skylanders games that aren't Toys to Life. A lot of them are the mobile ones. But for console, if it's going to be like a 7th console game, you're going to have to, because of how we're still in the pandemic and everything else is going on, so you can't just go to the store and buy your toys. They'd have to be digital. And then there's going to be, if the PS5 is proven everything, sometimes online sales can get fucking nuts, and it's like when you introduce a slew of new characters into a hypothetical new Skylanders, and there's gonna be toys based off them. There's gonna be scalpers, there's gonna be this and that, and you'd be able to avoid that hassle if you could just go to the store. But that's not an option for everyone at the moment. So unless they massively rehaul it, but then if you massively rehaul it, can you still call it Skylanders if it's not Toys to Life and it's a main console sequel to Imaginators? I don't know. It's going to be a gigantic gamble to bring back Skylanders, if that's ever a plan.
I think it would. Like, I know that there were some people in the Skylanders community that have been talking about hints about Skylanders coming back. I haven't seen anything in terms of like rock solid evidence.
Yeah, me either.
I've heard some things in the wind, but I hear a lot of things in the wind. And Skylanders, I don't think is it. I could be wrong. Like I said, of course, because I could be wrong. And I'm willing to be open and wrong, but I'm not understanding the concept of trying to bring back Toys for Life when an even bigger studio compared to Activision, i.e. Disney came along with their IPs which I'm sorry, dominates over Crash or Spyro, because it's Disney. It's bloody Disney, right? It's the king of animation itself, right? It is the one of the main Fortune 500 companies. It's the company that, if they charged for air at their bloody theme parks, they could get away with it and make money off of it. They'll charge you for air. They charge you for everything. They will, if they could literally have you open up your wallet and they just take away all your credit cards, people will do it with a smile on their face. That's how stupid rich Walt Disney is in terms of the company. They tried doing Disney Infinity, right? Where they brought their IPs and from Monsters Inc., Wreck-It Ralph, all these, The Incredibles, Lilo and Stitch, all these well-known characters that literally everybody knows, and that failed. And so that's problem number one. Problem number two is that not only do retailers now have to make space for Skylanders now. They have to make space for it.
Yeah.
And so I remember Walmart had like a giant area just dedicated to Skylanders. It was just one big shelf that was only Skylanders, and that was it. And every year they would change it for the new Skylanders that would come out, and they would change it. Imaginators, they took that one down. They took it down. They got rid of it. You're going to tell me that years later they're going to call Walmart, call Target, call all these massive retailers and say, hey, put up another display for Skylanders. They're going to say, no, thanks. No, thanks. It's like, no, we're not going to do that again because we got to put product out, right? And we need to have as much shelving for product as possible. And now you're going to tell me that a game genre that unfortunately piddled out, you want to try to bring it back again. During a pandemic where people have to go out, like you said, and go buy the toy and bring it back. I do think that Skylanders, in terms of toys, the toys to life thing is essential. I really do think it's essential. So to bring it back without the toys, the only way that I could see them do anything like this, but even then, is if they made a game like how they did with Little Big Planet, where it was like one way and then they almost jumped genres a little bit, but didn't. They just kind of did a sideways step. Mm-hmm. You got the Little Big Planet, you got Sackboy's Adventure, right? You would have to do that to Skylanders, but the selling point of Skylanders was the toys to life, so you have to create a new selling point.
I think what could be a good substitute if they feel it's viable to sacrifice the toys to life aspect of what built Skylanders, they could. And I think I haven't seen a whole lot of gameplay of it, but I think that with the mobile games they sort of tried this is if they actually went more of a Lego route and let you unlock characters in game, so you can still switch between them. You can still have a huge cast. Arguably, you could have an even bigger cast because you're not having to use the toys, but like. It all has to be done in game. You would have to sacrifice. This game would have to be the one of the black sheep of the series that doesn't use the portal. Or if it does, they could still use the portal. They just can't create any new toys for it. And anything that you have to buy for them, if you want them, and however they've worked that into this game, would have to be through the ones you already have, or ones you have to buy online, or whatever the case is. If that's what you want to do. But they have to make the portal like a second option or some kind of, or it can lead to some extra goodies or something, but not the main focus.
The only way I think that they could be able to use the portal now would be able to use your cell phone and have it hook up to the game in some way, and you just use that portal. The only way that I could see them doing this, there's only one way I can see this working, is that if they take, okay, there is something I just thought of. Hold on. What if they make it almost and it sounds weird, a cross between like Trap Team and Pokemon Go? You have your companion app. You have a phone, your companion app. Mm-hmm. You can have one companion that you walk with, just like Pokemon Go. But you can encounter other Skylanders. You fight them on your phone, and you can trap them. You can bring them back home, put them onto your console and play as them and start leveling them up on your console as well. So in order to be able to get these creatures, you have to literally go out of your house, but stay outside, collect the creatures, and bring them back. And that would be the only way, because then you're out and about. And then you can have the AR capability that Pokemon Go has, where you can play with them in alternate reality on your phone. Do that, and then you can play with them and you can interact with them. And if you walk with them, they level up, and you can play with them and do whatever. And then once you're like, okay, I want a game, you turn on the game, you turn on the companion app, you hit the summon portal app, you choose your Skylander that you captured, any of them, and you drop them in, and then you play as them. So if they were to bring back Skylanders, that would be the only way to be able to do it, in my eyes, to be able to try to maintain that
Toys to
collect
Life aspect. Yeah.
toys to life. It's no longer a toy to life, but it's a character to life, and
Yeah.
it's almost like also like a Neopet almost, or a Tamagotchi. You gotta feed it, you gotta take care of it. It's got your companion app, right? The companion app's on your phone, and you're walking around with it. You can go to the store with it, and you can play, take pictures, and then summon it onto the portal in the game, and then it drops in, right? That would be the only way I could see Skylanders come back in that way, so that you don't have to deal with the retail now. You don't, and then you could, if you really wanted to, you could throw microtransactions on the companion app to, get better. You require a blue crystal to capture a blue character, and so you have to go find it, or you could pay $1 to get one, or whatever. I don't know, because that was the big thing, was that you have to think the toys were almost like mini microtransactions. They were physical microtransactions.
Yeah.
So to be able to turn around and say like, hey, you could pay a few bucks to be able to help unlock certain Skylanders, or if you find a duplicate of a Skylander, you can turn it into dust and then craft another Skylander. I don't know. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of ways that could be taken, but I feel like that would be the only way to kind of bring back Skylanders.
Yeah. If there's any way that you want to like bridge mobile and console for like some kind of cross-platform play in that sense, I can definitely see that, while trying to keep that spirit. But if they,
I know,
well,
it's weak.
Well, no, I mean, at first when you're saying it, I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna. I mean, it's a lot of effort, is the thing. But that's not to say that it won't work. I mean, again, you kind of have to be open to that kind of suggestion, or that kind of idea. But if they want to keep it this exclusive console experience, and they want to try and keep it a little bit more simple, and still have like collect the characters, but you're doing it in game by meeting them, by buying them, whatever you want to do, make it in game. And then if Skylanders came back, the Skylanders fans are gonna go crazy. So of course you can market it to where, okay, here's the portal, and if you're a Skylanders fan, you already have a bunch of figures, so now we can use them for something. But if you want the new guys or that we're introducing for this installment, or whatever the case is, then like you're gonna have to meet up with them in the game, branch off a different path. Like, oh, how they have the gates. You need the air Skylander to go into this zone. So then you do that, and then you come across a new dude and go, whoa, hi, fight him or help him with a task, whatever they want you to do to get them into your party, and then bam, you got a new character you can switch between. I think that could be really a cool idea, and a nice substitute for having to go out and buy your figure just so they can join your party, as it were.
Yeah, entirely possible.
Oh my god. Well, we've had a lengthy podcast, and the funny thing is we didn't even get to the questions.
Okay. Oops.
That is completely fine, though. How do you want to handle this? Should we do a separate recording session in the same video and get to the questions, or should we just like do a part 2 sometime in the future? What do you want to do?
You know what? Why don't we do a part 2 in the future? Or you know what? Why don't we let the comment section decide?
Ooh, okay.
Let's let the comment section decide. Ooh, it's spicy. The comment section, you tell us what you want us to do. You want a part 2? Do you want what do you want? Tell us. Tell us in the comment section, and we'll try our best to serve the needs of the people.
We'll see what happens, but until then, super quickly, I do this with every guest. What you got going on YouTube and everywhere else? Plug yourself.
Okay, so my channel is Canadian Guy A. My Twitter is Canadian Guy A with the extra H, because there's an imposter out there. I'm hunting him down. We have a podcast that we host every Saturday or Sunday, depending on when we can record it, with my buddy Shemp. We have a secondary channel called Canadian Guy Plays, where we're going to be doing a whole bunch of Let's Plays of a multitude of different games. Nice. And of course, again, the main channel, Canadian Guy A, where we cover Crash, Spyro, and every kind of game in that nostalgic bubble. We also live stream on Thursdays and Fridays, both on Twitch and YouTube, from 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Come check us out if you like nostalgic content, and also don't forget to subscribe to DestinationMarc. He makes good content, and you should sub to him too, just in case this is your first time here.
yeah. Any CG fans coming from his channel, yeah. Go. I'm not going to introduce myself. Just go on the channel. That's too much. I always find it funny when the guests plug me. It's like, bro, this is my channel. They'll find stuff if they want to. It doesn't matter.
It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
The
Just
only
roll
thing,
with it.
yeah, the only thing I really want that how you're like the third guy now at this point to be like, oh yeah, having the experiences of being a content creator. So like Jump Button and Teal Game Master have all been like, yeah, going to like Radical or going to Vicarious Visions, going to Toys for Bob. I definitely want to get into that realm, man. I'm trying to get there. I'm really trying to.
Yeah.
I mean, having people like Lou on as a star, I was so freaking happy when he was like, oh, yeah, if I have time, we'll try and do it. And then we did it. So, like, I have something of an in, but I really want to try and see if we can, like, work more towards, getting some great opportunities for me to go out and, really do more with Crash and Spyro and with Activision and everything else. I just hope that, I just hope I'm worthy.
Well, you'll get there. You'll get there. Don't worry.
But yeah, man, I mean, it's hype. Got Spyro and Crash things hopefully popping off this year. I'm hype.
Hype. So, all right. So, do you want me to stop recording now?
Oh yeah. Let's sign off. So thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, I'm Mark,
and I'm Canadian Guy A. Thank you for having me, Mark. And
yeah, no problem.
We'll see you guys next time.
All right. See you guys later. Take care.